This is DMG and we're going to make an advanced dungeon door. Right, advanced dungeon door part 1. Joining me on this epic journey of 16 minutes, 50 seconds and 16 frames. So I'm going to be using some balsa wood sticks. Now you can generally get these in craft stores. If you cannot find balsa wood, you can just take 2 lollipop sticks that we normally use, sandwich them together for each one of these planks. So these planks are about double the thickness of normal popsicle sticks. Yeah, so I'm just using these because they're nice and light and I got them very, very cheap. Then we're going to measure 2 inches or 5 centimeters from the base to one point and then rule a line across, then measure an extra inch, 2.5 centimeters above that and rule a line, and then use the compass as you see there to create an arc. And then we're going to cut each one of those pieces at the 3-inch, 7.5 centimeter line and then glue them all together in order so that the arch reforms. So here I'm using white glue instead of hot glue, purely because it works a little bit better with this type of wood. Now if you're using the popsicle sticks, probably better to use the hot glue. So these things I like to massage them together so that they stick better, and just do 2 of each side, stick those together and then do the center one and just give it a few moments for it to cure. It doesn't take super long. Obviously hot glue is a lot quicker than this, but yeah, just give it a few moments before you work with it. Now before it starts drying too much, you can then push it against the ruler to make sure everything is lined up properly. Once it has fully dried, then do this process where we're just going to cut around the arch. As this is balsa wood, it will be easy to cut. If you're using the popsicle sticks, it may be a lot more difficult. You may want to actually cut the popsicle sticks before sandwiching them together. But that's up to you. It depends on how strong the shears are that you have. Then we grab some cable ties. So these are transparent cable ties. It may actually be better to use black ones if you can get black ones. You'll see why later on. But I'm just going to be cutting off the tab ends and the ends that go into the tab before you get the corrugation teeth on that, and make sure that the 2 long tab ends are the same length. Then we grab some hot glue, just dab it along and stick down one of the cable tie long tabs into that, and then use a toothpick to clean up the hot glue before it cures too much. And again on the same at the bottom, and also then stick down that piece of the cable tie, and again clean up with the toothpick. So from here we're then going to apply hot glue from the top of the arch, down the one side, nearly to the bottom. It really depends on how long your cable tie was as to how much you're going to get here. Again, I'm just using the offcuts of that cable tie, and this is going to form the banding around the edge of the door, so there's going to be metal around the edge of the door. And again, same down the other side. Because of the length of these cable ties, it won't go all the way to the bottom, but we'll deal with that just now. But if you have nice long ones and they're black, fantastic. You don't need to go through so many steps. And hold it down, and before it cures, just wipe off the excess hot glue. Remember, it's hot, don't burn yourself, so do wait until it is cooled down a bit. Then with a blob, where a doorknob would normally be, stick down the end tab of the cable tie, cleaning it up with a toothpick. And then before we continue, we're going to then just sight where the other one will be. I'm just marking with a pencil, so just from different angles, just so we can get the correct point of where that should be. A little blob of hot glue, the swirly swirl, and drop on that tab. So everything's starting to come together. I love it when a plan comes together. So now we're going to cut some extra banding for the hinge bits on the other side and the tabs for the other side as well. There's going to be more to this door frame than just a simple knob, and then we're just going to mark where exactly those banding bits are so that it's mirrored on the other side. So then put blob of hot glue. What's also easy is you can slide those cable tie tabs into the hot glue, which makes less mess, but still you may want to clean it up with the toothpick. Starting to forget what these things are called. Brain wasting away in old age. Too many glue fumes. Too little time. Alright, so continue on, same again, and then we're going to continue the banding around the edge, just again with the excess offcuts of that cable tie. Stick it down and on the other side as well. So these are jutting right over the edge. And then we're just going to trim it off with a pair of scissors after we've cleared away the hot glue. Trimming. Clip, clip, come on, Clippy. Move your ass, Clippy. And then hot glue along the bottom. And another offcut there to complete the surround banding. And you may find it's a little bit over on one of the sides or on both sides. And again, you can just clean off hot glue and use a pair of scissors to just clip off the excess. So now we're going to toothpick. These toothpicks are quite interesting because they've got these little, I don't know, lathed bits at the end. So I like those. I'm going to use those. So these are about 1 centimeter apart. And blob of hot glue and drop in one of the other tabs from the cable tie that we cut off. Then on the inside edge of that and the other one, blob of hot glue, and then that little piece we cut off from the toothpick, we're just going to push that into that and use another toothpick to just push it into the right space. So this is going to be forming a bolt that normally you'd be able to lever up and push to one side. So we're going to do the rest of the bolt now, but again you can clean up with the toothpick. So we're going to cut off the end of another toothpick. If your toothpicks don't have that lathe bit, it doesn't matter, it will still work obviously. Still will want about a 1 centimeter wide thing just for scale and size. And blob of hot glue in the swirldy, the DMG patented anti-wisp swirl. Drop of hot glue, drop down the tab from the cable tie, blob of hot glue on each inside side of those, and push in the piece of toothpick. And of course manipulate the toothpick as you see fit. Then we're going to cut off about 1/2 centimeter little pieces of toothpick again. Further back in the scissors will cut a lot easier. Then on the outside edge towards the door frame, we're going to put this 1/2 centimeter piece on both sides into a blob of hot glue and wait for it to cure. It is sticking over the edge, as you can see at the moment. If yours doesn't stick over the edge, don't worry with the next part, but if they are, wait till it's cured and then lop it off with a pair of scissors. Okay, if you don't wait, it'll just fall off. So that's what we look like at the moment. Continuing on, we're going to cut another 1/2 centimeter piece of toothpick, cut 2 of them, and a blob of hot glue in the middle of the bolt, and massage that next 1/2 piece of toothpick into that, and that forms the handle that you use to pull up the bolt and shove it across into the door frame to lock the door. So massage it into place, use a toothpick to clean it up a little bit, and then repeat on the other side with a blob of hot glue, and just place it in place and clean it up if you need to. But before we get to the painting, I must encourage you to check out Neverwinter. Play neverwinter.com/the DMG. It's an MMO, it's free to play, and it's a lot of fun. Now we can continue. So to paint the woodwork, we're going to use brown ink, neat. We're not going to water it down at all, and just paint it straight onto the balsa wood. The balsa wood will actually absorb that brown ink quite well, and it will stain it pretty well. Don't worry about if it's a little dark in the beginning, it will lighten up a bit. And then we're going to mix in some water, about 2 to 3 parts water to black ink, 1 part black ink, and then just run it underneath the banding and the bolt, and you'll see that it's starting to run and bleed into the balsa wood. That's exactly what we want. Continue that on the other side and at the top of the door on both sides as well, and hold it vertically to let it run down. You can then run over it again with some water, so the water will start to bleed into the balsa wood, and you'll get this wonderful stain effect. You're going to use some standard black acrylic paint. So this is where those black cable ties would come in handy, because you wouldn't have to paint as much, and it'll probably be a little bit cleaner. But as you see, the ink is starting to dry, it's lightened up, it's gone a little bit grey, and the weathered look of the door is starting to look quite good. So continue on with painting over all the black banding. I'm just using boots of speed because this is obviously a lengthy process, and you even want to coat the bottom of the door as well and around the edges. So then leave that to dry on some kind of fixture so that you don't get paint everywhere. So then I'm going to use a very small drill bit. You can get these in hobby shops and things like that. If you want, you can completely skip this step. This is just going beyond what we need. And then into the banding, I'm just drilling 2 holes, and I'm going to do that on each piece of this banding on the front and the back. So you're going to end up with 8 holes using this little drill. So again, if you can't do this, skip this whole step. Then with I'm just going to massage the holes a little bit bigger with the pin from the compass that we used earlier to make the arch. Then into the sides, I'm then going to drill in some holes just to the below and above the banding, and I'm going to cut a piece of wire to just stick in there for reference, and then drill a hole on the opposite side. And if you're going to struggle with this, if you don't have the thing, you can use the compass to push a hole through, but be very, 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 very careful. So with the wire, cutting the wire to size, it's probably about 2 centimeters long. Bend it around so that you've got an arc, and place it back into the holes. There we have it. And then grab a pair of pliers and twist it so that you have a circle facing up. And this is going to be forming part of the hinges for the next video. So that's what that looks like. I repeat the same process for the top. I've just jumped ahead 1,000 League Boots so you don't have to watch that whole thing again. But you can see here that we're forming 2 rings that something will be able to pass through in order to create the hinge for the door. Okay, so we can continue on with the painting. So I have gold and silver paint. This is just standard acrylic paint. Again, I've got this really cheap. So, you know, if you're hanging around at the dollar store or in the craft store and they've got the sales on, that's when you grab the cheap stuff. You can use mini paints if you want. You've got mini paints where you've got the metallics and things like that. I'm basically mixing the gold and silver together, and then applying that all over the metal parts. And then what I'm going to do is a little bit of brown and place that at the bottom of each of the bits and pieces, just on the bolts and the hinges. And then we're going to use some black ink, 1 part black ink to 2 parts water. I'm just using a syringe there. These cost 10 cents. If you go to the pharmacy, you should be able to get them for about 10 cents, and it's great for measuring quantities. So then we just apply that ink and water mixture to everything, trying not to get it onto the wooden part of the door, and then allow it to dry, and effectively you end up with the look that we have at the moment. So then you want to clear out the little holes that we drilled earlier, make sure that they're free and clear for the next part where we're going to grab these pins. So these are sequin pins. You can use normal pins, just these are really short. Again, got these really cheap, and we're just going to lop off, so it's about 1/4 of a centimeter. Just lop off the pin heads, not the sharp end, the flat head end on the top. Then we're going to grab a glue stick and just stick the pin, the cut-off piece into that, and then push it into the holes, and you've got to do 8 of those so that you end up with these rivets in the banding. So although the glue stick is not the best of glue to use for this, it merely just holds it in place when it dries. It's not meant to be very, very solid. So there we go, the little rivets in the door, and this is what the door looks like when it is finished. And wait for the next video to see how we do the archway around it. So that's how I make an advanced dungeon door, and that's part 1. Part 2 is we're actually going to make the arch around it. Yeah, how am I going to do that? Anyway, if you liked this video, like button. If you want to see future videos, you can subscribe to this channel by going to youtube.com/thedmginfo. You can also check out my website, thedmg.info, where you can find a store where you can purchase things from as little as 99 US cents, which helps to financially support this channel. You can also check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and I have an email newsletter also available on my website. Go forth. This is DMG, and we're going to be making but before we get to the painting, before we get to the painting, playneverwent.com/thedmg. An MMO, tongue twister. To play. It's an MMO, Dungeons and Saving the Princess.